Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Cassandra would like to introduce you to Minex Dust, who very sensibly changed his name once they moved to Hangouts. Minex Dust's profile on Facebook says that he lives in War and that he works at Farming Independent. I looked up War. There seem to be two places with that name, one in South Sudan and one in Papua New Guinea. "Hello, Cassandra Higgins," he said. "Hello, Minex Dust," said Cassandra. "I'm doing good," he said. "How are you doing today? And I hope you're having a good time over there. So, how was the weather condition over there right now?" "Do I know you?" asked Cassandra. "What kind of good time do you think I'm having?" "I don't understand you are," he said. "So can we be friends, so we can make ourselves? I'm from Brisbane, Australia, working in Libya, ? Where are you from?" "Why are you asking me if you're working in Libya?" said Cassandra. "Don't you know where you work? I find that very odd. I don't need to make myself. My parents did that 62 years plus 9 months ago." To which our man replied, "Good. How 60 years old? My daughter was in boarding school in Italy. Her name is Laura. I'm a doctor in Libya. I'm so sorry for your lost parents. Where are you from?" "I live near Bury St Edmunds in Suffolk in England," said Cassandra. "How long have you been working in Libya?" "I have 8, mostly, meaning to live Libya and come to Australia. Libya is not a safe place for me to stay. They're fighting here in Libya every day. So can you tell me more about your job?" "What does I have 8, mostly meaning to live Libya mean? Please write in English. I run the family estate. We have 256 acres of mixed woodland and grazing, with a small herd of Shetland cattle, 4 dogs, a dozen chickens, about 30 sheep, 5 cats and 3 elderly horses turned out in the orchard." In reply to "What does I have 8, mostly meaning to live Libya mean?" he wrote, "I have 8, mostly meaning to live Libya and come to Australia. Send me your email address." "Yes, you said that," replied Cassandra, "but what does I have 8, mostly meaning to live in Libya actually mean?" To which our man replied, "Yes. Send me your email address." "No," said Cassandra, "it does not mean yes. Please explain what it does mean. Please explain to me, in English, what I have 8, mostly meaning to live Libya and come to Australia, actually means." "Please send me your email address, so we can communication better on Hangout," he said. "Please send me your email address." "I assume you're having reading difficulties," replied Cassandra. "So to make it simple, I will not send you my email address so we can communication better, unless or until you tell me in English what I have 8, mostly meaning to live Libya and come to Australia, actually means. I hope that's clear enough for you." "I just left with 6 months in Libya before going back to Australia. I hope you understand me better. So, I will be very happy to have you email so we can talk more over and get to know ourselves better." "I understand that," replied Cassandra, "but I don't see how that's related to what you said before. My email address is..." And she gave him her email address, and so, after a bit of silliness, because he forgot to tell her that he didn't have the same name on Hangouts, do they ever, they moved to Hangouts. "Found you," she said. "It would have been most helpful if you told me you use a different name on chat." "That is my nickname," he said. "My name is James Mark. That name is she on Facebook. It's my nickname, okay? How are you doing today? I hope you're having a great day." "I'm very well, thanks," said Cassandra. "Apart from telling me you're a doctor in Libya and you'll be there for another 6 months, you haven't told me why you're in Libya or what you're doing there." "I told you that I work as a doctor here in Libya. I have 6 months left to retire from my job. I have a contract here in Libya. As a doctor..." "Yes," replied Cassandra, "I said that. Why are you in Libya and what do you do as a doctor?" "I treat injuries and sick people," he said. "Obviously you treat sick people," replied Cassandra. "That's what doctors do. I'm asking what kind of doctor you are, and why are you in Libya if it isn't safe for you to be there?" "So, can you tell me more about yourself?" he tried. "Not until you've answered those 2 questions," replied Cassandra, "and I will make you ask me at least 4 times before I give you a sensible answer." "Because I have a contract here in Libya. Have not done finished my contract. Why, I'm still in Libya. Why did you take a contract in Libya if it isn't safe? Replied Cassandra. And what kind of doctor are you? You aren't making sense. The transfer me from Australia to Libya for a contract. Who is the? Replied Cassandra. Why did you decide to work in Libya? Please at least try and make sense. My boss in Australia. Transfer me from Australia to Libya for 6 months contract. Your boss? Who is your boss? Asked Cassandra. My boss is overall doctor, he said, in the office in Australia. If you say so, replied Cassandra. Where were you working before you were sent to Libya? I'm working in Australia before they sent me to Libya. Yes, I know that, replied Cassandra. Where in Australia? Which hospital did you work at? Resource centre, he said. Meaning, replied Cassandra, which hospital did you work in? Where is it in Australia? Please try and give a sensible answer. And as you'll see, that man has no idea what a sensible answer even means. That is the name of the hospital that I work in, Australia, he said. Where in Australia? Replied Cassandra. And why is it so hard to get you to give me a sensible answer? It's so tedious. Resource centre. This is the name of the hospital that I used to work in Australia. Yes, you said that, replied Cassandra several times. Where is it? Where in Australia? Australian Capital Territory, he said. Yes, getting closer, replied Cassandra. Where in ACT? Why do you want to know everything about me, he said. I just told you everything about me. I don't want to know everything about you, replied Cassandra. I've asked you one question, repeatedly. Where in Australia is your hospital? If you refuse to answer, I will assume that you don't know where you worked. Please, can you tell me everything about yourself? I want to know you more better. No, replied Cassandra, not unless or until you tell me where in Australia your hospital is. It's a simple question, so I'll repeat it for your convenience. Where in Australia is your hospital? Yes, he said. I will tell you. Hitting Google at high speed, no doubt. Meanwhile, Cassandra sent him a map of Australia. For added convenience, here is a map of Australia, she said. You can mark the location of your hospital on the map, along with the name of the town, village, city that it is located in. And I don't know if you can see it, but if you look very closely at that map, at the bottom right, you'll see a little red splodge. That's the Australian Capital Territory. I think it's where Canberra's located. Town High Resolute in Australia, he said, having copied part of the caption from a high-res photo somewhere online. Would you like to try again? Replied Cassandra, and give you the name of a real place in Australia. So our man went back to whichever photo site he was using and copied a slightly longer, meaningless sentence. Australia, village, town, High Resolute. Getting closer, replied Cassandra, but I'd really like the name of a real place in Australia. I gave you a map. Mark the location on the map. I don't like it, okay? What do you mean, that? He said. What don't you like? Replied Cassandra. I sent you a map of Australia. I'm coming from Australia, Brisbane, Queensland, but right now working in Libya. Several hundred miles from the ACT, obviously. Finally, said Cassandra, your hospital's in Brisbane. Yes, I know, he said, but I've told you where I came from. I'm in a peacekeeping mission in Libya. I'm just left with 6 months over here. I hope you understand me better. So if your hospital is in Brisbane, what was all that ridiculous rubbish about Australia village town High Resolute? At least we now know where you were working before you went to Libya. Phew. I can see you don't have manners, he said. Stop asking me all this robish question. I have no idea what robish is, replied Cassandra. You fair to understand me. I don't like it, he said. I have no idea what any of that means either, replied Cassandra. I think you know a little about me, he said. So can you kindly tell me about yourself? I already told you where I live, replied Cassandra, and you didn't have to ask me a dozen times, but I can give you equally meaningless answers now I know how to do it. Okay, I hope you should stop asking me mush question too, he said. I wouldn't dream of asking you anything else, replied Cassandra. I prefer mushy peas to mush questions. We can be talking about ourselves, not all this mush question, he said. I thought I was asking about you, replied Cassandra. Apologies if telling me where you work isn't part of telling me about yourself. Okay, can you tell me about yourself? Like, what you do for a living? Do you have a husband and kids? I believe I already told you that, replied Cassandra, but if you ask me another 8 times, I will tell you again. Marriage is a name. Okay, tell me what I need from you again. I live on an estate, replied Cassandra. Okay, I'm ready to hear more, he said. I told you that I live on an estate, replied Cassandra. Okay, dear, we talk, okay? So you have to take good care of yourself. Hope to hear from you later. I thought you were busy. No, replied Cassandra, I'm here. Okay, so can I tell you about myself? If you must, replied Cassandra. I'm a single father, he said, but I have a daughter who's in boarding school in Italy with her class teacher, who's a friend of mine. Her name is Julia, 16 years old soon. You've already told me that, replied Cassandra. Okay, dear, he said. I want to, all about myself. I don't know what that means, replied Cassandra. I lost my wife 5 years ago. She died on breast, B-R-E-S-T with a capital B, cancer. I thought Brest was a place in France, replied Cassandra. Are you saying your wife was French? She was like everything to me then. I've always loved to wake up in the middle of the night and kiss her when she's sleeping, and I always tell her how much I love her every morning. Does that mean yes, she was French? Replied Cassandra. No, she's not coming from French, he said. I really miss her, but I always hope God will give me another good and caring woman to love me, and I will love her back. I really wish I could found the perfect match some day. Okay, replied Cassandra. She just happened to be in France when she died. I guess she was on holiday. But I have always prayed to God for another God-fearing woman to love me and my beloved daughter Julia, he said. I love France, replied Cassandra, who was determined not to answer anything that he was saying. Brittany is beautiful, which is where Brest is. We're not taking about that now, okay, he said. Oh, I am now. Okay, replied Cassandra. Can you tell me about your hobbies, if you don't mind? Hobbies, replied Cassandra obtusely, or what you do. I love gaming, travelling, and sports, reading my book. I've been to different countries around the globe due to the nature of my job, and you can tell me about your hobbies. Yes, replied Cassandra, I have hobbies. I told you that. Can you please remind me your age, my dear? I can see you don't have manners. Stop asking me all these roguish questions, replied Cassandra, copying and pasting one of his previous replies. I can see you're not serious, he said. You fair to understand me, I don't like it, she said, copying and pasting yet another one of his previous answers. You don't respond with manner, he said. I'm only copying and pasting your own answers, replied Cassandra. Those are your words I'm using. I can only apologise if you believe that you have not responded with manner. You are laying, he said. Can I have your pics? So she copied and pasted the bit where he'd said, You fair to understand me. I don't like it. You said that first, she said, copying and pasting the bit where he had said, I can see you don't have manners. Stop asking me all these roguish questions. You also said that first, she said, and I am sitting, not laying. Can I have your pics, if you don't mind? He tried. I do mind, said Cassandra. You can see my photo on Facebook, along with my real name, not some stupid made-up name like you use. If you wish to see me, you're welcome to video call me. Oh dear, help panic, cue the excuse. We don't normally allow video calls here, okay? Oh dear, said Cassandra. That's a shame, isn't it? You seems like you don't know the kind of man I'm, he said. No, I don't, said Cassandra, but I can make a wild guess. Don't take me on granted, he said. Oh, I don't believe you've been granted, she replied. Why don't you tell me the kind of man you are? That would be fascinating. I don't understand you, he said. Send me your photos. You said, it seems like you don't know the kind of man I'm. Tell me what kind of man you are. I believe the correct term might be microcephalic, although I'll bow to your superior medical knowledge, obviously. I believe, he said, that time spent apart helps keep things fresh in a relationship and makes the time we do spend together even better. I'm not one who cheats in a relationship. One woman is enough trouble. I don't have the time or energy to juggle 2, 3, or 4 at the same time. LOL. But I also want to be in a relationship where I can totally trust the other person and not dwell on how the relationship is not working. I can think of lots of reasons why a relationship with you wouldn't work, mate. I would also like to find an honest and God-fearing woman who we can participate in activities together and encourage each other to pursue our interests as well. I have several hobbies, and I wish I could find more time to pursue those, such as cooking, swimming, playing computer, dancing and reading, and more, and would like someone to share that with, as well as sharing his interest with me too. One woman is enough trouble, replied Cassandra. Would you care to explain what you mean by that? Place, do not ask me different question it, he said. I said anything my wife need, that we give to him. Do not ask me stupid question. I do not like it. I'm really searching for a matured and honest lady who will be my wife and a mother to my daughter. It will be easy to find men who are honest and caring these days, because most men are searching for the perfect woman to marry. But on the other hand, I'm searching for the imperfect woman to love and care for perfectly. I thank God every day for bringing someone as wonderful as you into my life. You failed to answer my medical question, replied Cassandra. Is microcephalic the correct term for the kind of man you are? Our man apparently failed to hit Google and came back the next day. I just answer your question. Do not ask me some question. I don't need it. I don't like that question. I told you about it. You ask me a question, just answer you. Whatever all that was meant to mean. You told me at length about the kind of woman you're looking for, replied Cassandra. And so he sent her one of those good morning gifts. You did not tell me what kind of man you are, she continued. Good morning, my love. How are you doing today? And hope you're having a great day? Question mark, question mark. Also, replied Cassandra, I would greatly appreciate it if a highly educated man such as yourself would write in proper English, instead of writing meaningless rubbish that appears to have been written by a 7-year-old, such as this ghastly example of illiteracy. And she quoted the bit where he said, I just answer your question, do not ask me some question, I don't need it, I don't like that question, I told you about it, you asked me a question, just answer you. At this point, Cassandra felt one of those dodgy tracking links coming on. I don't usually bother sending them, but the answers to this one were interesting, although I suspect that a VPN might have been in use. You might have realised from the way that our man was typing that there were at least 2 of them. One of them literally couldn't string a sentence together, and the other one could. I'll show you the results in a minute. This site might be helpful, said Cassandra. It shows the different kinds of man. You can just choose one. And she sent him a link to a site that describes different kinds of male personalities. Our man came back the next day and said, I'm a kind man, that's very honest, caring, humble, and I need a woman that will love me from her heart, woman that have respect for his husband, and I have respect for wife, a woman that will love my daughter as her biological kids, and the woman I will spend the rest of my life with. And now I'll show you the result of that tracking link. Here it is. As you can see, the link was clicked on twice. Once by someone whose IP address places them in New York in the United States, and once by someone whose IP address places them in Mountain View, United States. They were clicked on almost simultaneously. Notice that under User Agent it says Bot. I suspect that our men were using VPNs, so I have no idea where they were really located. I looked on a map, and New York and Mountain View, as all my US viewers will know, are on opposite sides of the country. Back to the action, and Cassandra replied, Does that mean that you and your daughter are willing to relocate to England? Yes, he said. When my contract is over, I will come and meet you in England. You are my daughter, I promise you. I want you to be my wife, so when my contract is over, I will come and meet you there, so we can get married in England. I promise you. I'm not your daughter, replied Cassandra, and I couldn't possibly marry a man that I've never met. You will need to come to England so that we can meet first. Just accept me as your husband, he said, so when my contract is over, so I will come and meet you in England. I think I just told you that I could not possibly commit to marrying a man that I have never met, replied Cassandra. Yes, I promise you, I will come and meet you. I will not lie to you. Who said you'd lie? replied Cassandra. I find that a worrying statement. Where in Libya? They are killing people here in Libya. I don't have access to my account right now. I lost my debit card. I lost everything I had here in Libya. Right now, I don't have any money with me right now. I need to leave Libya to come and meet you there. The X-Men that killing people here in Libya every day. Oh dear, replied Cassandra, that sounds very dramatic. That is why I'm seeing a Libya at the situation. It's very bad here in Libya, he said. I don't know what seeing a Libya means. Are you telling me you're in a relationship with a lady in Libya? I don't have a woman in my life right now. Is when I left my wife and be alone, he said. Then what does seeing a Libya mean? But I have always prayed to God for another God-fearing woman to love me and my beloved daughter, Julia. You said that before, replied Cassandra. Stop changing the subject and answer the question. What does seeing a Libya mean? Please don't make me ask again. That's the third time. What I mean? I just want to come out from here, to come and meet you there. They're killing people here in Libya every day, he said. Okay, if you say so, replied Cassandra. I don't have any money with me right now, he said, to come and meet you there. I just want to get out from Libya, to come and meet you there. Oh dear, that's most unfortunate, replied Cassandra. Please, can you understand me now? I'm facing many situations here in Libya right now. I understand, replied Cassandra. You don't have any money, like I said. That's most unfortunate. Can you help me with the money for my ticket, he said. You aren't coming for another 6 months, replied Cassandra. Then I reimburse once I sort out everything with my bank. You have 6 months to sort out everything with your bank, replied Cassandra. No, he said. I can leave here if I have money for my ticket. I can settle everything with my bank within a couple of weeks once I meet them in person. That was what they insisted, that I must meet them in person before anything can be done. Oh, okay, said Cassandra. How would I be able to help? You can send money for my ticket, he said. How would I do that if you can't access your bank account? Asked Cassandra. Then we both meet in person, spend some time together. You want me to come to Libya to give you money in person? You can send the money directly to the flight agent, he said. Of course not. Life is not that safe here. Then he booked the tickets for me. I can come over then. Okay, replied Cassandra. So, when will you be able to send the money? Can't you make the payment today? That rather depends on how much your flights cost, replied Cassandra. Where will you be flying from? I'll be very happy to meet you, he said. I'll be flying directly from Libya. It won't cost much. Let me check. Yes, I know that, replied Cassandra. Where in Libya will you fly from? Tripoli, he said. Okay. Let me check the amount, he said. Okay, replied Cassandra again. That should be $1,500, directly to Australia, he said. I don't live in Australia, replied Cassandra. Then I will figure something with my bank and come over to you. Okay. What do you think? You prefer me flying directly to you first? I honestly don't mind whether you come here first or go to Australia first, said Cassandra. He said. Let me know when you make a decision, replied Cassandra. I'd like to travel to Australia first, so I can have access to money and reimburse you once I come over to you. Okay, replied Cassandra. Can't you be able to send the money today? He asked. I probably could, yes, replied Cassandra. Which travel agency do you use? Good, he said. Let me try and get her details for you. Give me a few minutes. And then, to prepare Cassandra for the fact that his money mule wasn't in Australia, he said, She's originally from the States, too, so the money could arrive quickly. Cassandra came back an hour later, and there was nothing from our man. I assume that you're unable to give me your agent's details. I'll be turning off the computer soon, as I have to attend an event in our village hall this evening. And so our man came up with the name and bank details of a money mule in West Columbia in the US. Using Cassandra's Facebook account, I reported this money mule to Truist Bank, who own BB&T. Their reply was, Good evening, Cassandra. Thank you for sharing this with our Facebook team. We appreciate you bringing this to our attention, and we will be reviewing this with our security teams directly. I took screenshots of a few of the places where he'd asked Cassandra for money to show the evidence for why I believed these were the details of a money mule. Our man wasn't happy, of course. Here's the agent details, he said. Let me know once you made the payment. Hope to hear from you soon. Are you there with me now? You must be having a busy day. Yes, mate. She's ghosted you. She has other things to do. Goodbye, James Mark. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it. Please share it. Please comment down below. Please subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you again in another video.